From Royal Communications Incorporated, good evening and welcome to King's News Broom 45 minutes news about Liberia, Africa. In our one world, today is Tuesday, May 27, 2025, and I'm Shemon Dia presenting. In the headlines, Bome County Senator and head of Liberia's ECOWAS Parliament delegation expresses deep fear for his life. Edwin Snow says the government has endorsed threats against him and his family as Liberia delegation to ECOWAS Parliament requests timely, impartial, and transparent investigation into previous allegations made by Ministry of Information against Snow. Ministry of Justice warns citizens against alarming human trafficking groups in parts of the country. Justice Minister Councillor Oswatwe names KillNet, Millennia Liberia Go International Platinum, Style, among several others, as fraudulent organizations that are exploiting vulnerable Liberians. And also in the news tonight, U.S. government, through its Department of Defense, oversees humanitarian disaster assistance and civic aid donates high-tech equipment worth over 150,000 United States dollars to 14th Military Hospital for cancer diagnosis and treatment. Away from home, Zimbabwe's President Emerson Mnangagwa has signed into law a contentious bill that requires a motorist to buy a radio license before acquiring vehicle insurance. War-torn Sudan is now on the brink of a public health disaster as cholera and other deadly diseases spread. Aid group, the International Rescue Committee, has warned. These plus a news bulletin, voices of those making the news at our package. We'll take a short break to be right back. Welcome back at this juncture. We join Sam Andrews with the news bulletin.
Bome County Senator Edwin Snow has raised serious concern about his life and the lives of family amid contending pressure being mounted following the Ministry of Information allegation that he is planning to use his connection at ECOWAS to undermine and destabilize the government. Senator Snow, during a press conference Tuesday in Monrovia, described state-endorsed threats against his life and that of his family. He claimed the Ministry of Information statement has not only severely damaged his personal and political reputation, but also placed him and his family in an immediate danger. Snow's allegations have further deepened existing tension between the government and supporters and sympathizers of the bombing senator, resulting in emerging national debate around political freedom, government transparency, and institutional responsibilities. Speaking early on at the Senate, Senator Snows reaffirmed his previous political statement that the Unity Party-led government under Joseph Yoma Boakai will be a one-term government. According to him, the backlash from the statement, including insinuations from the Ministry of Information questioning his loyalty to the state, has sparked a wave of threatening messages against him and his family. He further called on the Senate to summon the Minister of Information, Jeremiah Pia, to appear before the legislature to provide concrete evidence supporting the ministry's claim. The Bome County Senator at the same time urged members of the Senate to ensure transparency by making any findings from the official investigation into the alleged treason or threats to national security publicly available, both domestically and internationally. Senator Snow also demanded that the Ministry of Information issue a formal retraction and public apology for his statement, which he said has inflicted significant emotional distress on his family and tarnished his public image. In a related development, the Liberian delegation to ECOWAS Parliament has broken silence on allegations against its head of delegation, Senator Edwin Snow, urging the Liberian Senate to launch an impartial and transparent investigation. The Liberia ECOWAS Parliament delegation, in a press statement, said, initiating timely, impartial, and transparent investigation into the allegations against its head from the government through the Ministry of Information is prudent. The statement pointed out the allegations' full confidence in Senator Snow's leadership and service to Liberia and ECOWAS region. The statement issued from the ECOWAS Parliament in Abuja, Nigeria, comes amid rising political tension in Monrovia over comments made by Senator Snow and a subsequent fallout that has triggered security concerns, reputational debate, and institutional scrutiny. Senator Edwin Snow, who serves as head of the Liberian delegation to ECOWAS Parliament and chairman of the Committee on Peace, Security, and the African Peer Review Mechanism, is facing allegations that have taken on political dimensions back home. The delegation message defended Senator Edwin Snow, noting that his track record has shown his contributions to regional cooperation, peace building, and Liberia's interest within ECOWAS. The delegation statement suggests that the accomplishments not only reflect Senator Snow's integrity, but are also an emblematic of Liberia's stature and ECOWAS bloc. At the same time, the Coalition for Democratic Change has condemned what it described as Bouakai administration politically motivated targeting of Senator Edwin Melvin Snow, a prominent opposition lawmaker and ECOWAS parliamentarian. In a press statement issued by the former ruling party, it said the government's baseless declaration of Senator Snow as a national security threat, absent of credible evidence, is a reckless and unconstitutional act aimed at silencing dissent and consolidating political control. The release further termed as dangerous maneuver, which violates Article 15 of the Liberian Constitution, which enshrines the right to freedom of expression and political participation for all citizens, including members of the opposition. Such undemocratic behavior mirrors the characteristics of authoritarian regime, not a government sworn to uphold democratic norms. Meanwhile, former Commerce Minister Ami Modad has responded to Senator Edwin Melvin Snow, accusing him of streaming foul and seeking public sentiment. Ami Modad, in a Facebook post, said several malicious stories have been purported by Broom County Senator Edwin Snow across different media outlets against several others, including him and his family, something he said resulted to his wife's vehicle being attacked by unknown individuals. The Unity Party former national chairman added that Senator Snow's alleged statement was threatening not just to the government, but to the Liberian people. Ami Modad challenged Senator Edwin Melvin Snow to rescind from further statements and apologize to Liberians. Justice Minister Councillor Oswald Tue has issued a stern warning to the public regarding a growing human trafficking operation in Liberia. According to him, human traffickers are reportedly targeting young people, especially those from rural communities, with false promises of education and employment abroad. The Justice Minister, during a live appearance on OKFM Tuesday, expressed deep concern about rising influence of a sinister network operating under multiple alliances, including QNet, QNet Infinity, Millennium Liberia, Gold International, Platinum Star, among others. Councillor Tue noted that these entities pose as legitimate and international work and travel programs, but they are actually engaging in fraudulent schemes that ultimately exploit Liberia's most vulnerable citizens. The Justice Minister emphasized that victims are often promised scholarships and overseas work placement, noting upon joining, they find themselves trapped in exploitative situation. He added that reports from multiple sources suggest that some individuals are subjected to long working hours under poor condition, denied education, and in extreme cases are unable to leave the facilities, rendering them modern day hostages. Councillor Oswald confirmed that several of these organizations remain active in Liberia. The United States Embassy near Monrovia has announced donation of over 150,000 in advanced endoscopic equipment to the Armed Forces of Liberia 14 Military Hospital. A statement issued by the U.S. Embassy Tuesday noted that the donation was made by the United States through the Department of Defense Overseas Humanitarian Disasters Assistance and Civic Aid Program. The high-tech equipment are expected to enable AFL medical teams to diagnose and treat serious conditions, including cancer, using minimally invasive procedures. The statement added that the U.S. military medics from Michigan National Guard also visited the 14 military hospital last week, reinforcing Liberia's ability to deliver high-quality care and respond to future medical needs. The U.S. authorities described the donation as a means of building the armed forces of Liberia capability, not dependency, stating that the U.S.-Liberia partnership is shifting from aid to trade, advancing security, stability, and self-reliance. Deputy Director General for Operations at the National Transit Authority, Noah Zawu Gibson, has been summoned by Painesville Magisterial Court following allegations that he interfered in a land dispute case and incited residents to resist court order eviction. The summons issued by Temporary Magistrate William Sigbe on Monday comes in the wake of a civil law court mandate ordering the enforcement of a previous ruling in favor of Joseph Busi. Busi, through his attorney at law, Henry Gamunde, pursued summer proceedings to recover possession of a property located in Jacobtown, Painesville. According to the court document, Gibson is accused of menacing, disorderly conduct, and criminal coercion in violation of sections 14.25, 17.3, and 14.27 of the New Penal Code of Liberia. The charges stem from an incident in which Gibson and others allegedly trespassed on the property, publicly accused Busi and his legal representatives of being criminal landlords, and aired the allegations on ELBC Radio Nightline show. The accusation reportedly subjected the complainants to public ridicule, fear of safety, and reputational damage. Monserrate County Electoral District 6 representative and member of ECOWAS Parliament has assured Liberia's commitment to justice, peace, and sustainable development. Delivering a comprehensive remark on behalf of the people at ECOWAS Parliament members in Abuja, Representative Samuel Enders outlined the country's progress and pledged across governance, human rights, environmental policy, and regional cooperation. Representative Enders emphasized Liberia's renewed focus on justice and accountability for wartime atrocities, efforts to fortify the rule of law, and strategies for long-term inclusive growth under the government's arrest agenda. He noted that addressing Central on the Civil War, Liberia has taken key steps toward justice with the government's endorsement of a war crimes code to address atrocities committed during the country's civil conflict. The Monserrate County lawmaker acknowledged challenges such as high percentage of pretrial detainees, approximately 71% of the prison population. Reforms, including plea bargaining and community dispute resolution initiatives, have begun addressing these systemic issues. Meanwhile, addressing human rights and social inequities raised by Liberia's Independent Human Rights Commission, Representative Samuel Endos assured Parliament that reforms are underway, particularly in child protection, law enforcement accountability, and equitable rights for communities in concession areas. President Joseph Walker has departed Liberia to participate in ECOWAS 50-year anniversary commemorative ceremony in Lagos, Nigeria this Wednesday. The ceremony, being hosted by the government of Nigeria, will bring together heads of states and government, regional leaders, and international dignitaries. It marks 5 decades of West African unity, integration, and progress under the Economic Community of West African States. A statement issued by the Executive Mansion Tuesday disclosed that President Bouaka is scheduled to take part in several major commemorative events. The activities include a signing of a special 50th anniversary card, a joint declaration by heads of state reaffirming support for the Economic Community of West African States vision, the main ceremony at Echo Hotel, and a roundtable conference on regional development hosted by NIIA. ECOWAS 50th anniversary ceremony will honor the Institute's pivotal role and reaffirm member states' collective commitment to peace, development, and regional integration. A grassroots advocacy organization, Solidarity and Trust for a New Day, in collaboration with We the People movement, has strongly condemned the Liberian government for defending the demolition of homes of vulnerable people. STEN said while it respects the fair application of the rule of law, it categorically rejects the what it described as weaponization of the court system to unjustly evict struggling families, leaving the properties belonging to the rich and the powerful, including Josh Kalondo. Stakeholders in the water and sanitation sector have begun the validation of a strategic plan aimed at supplying water and boosting sanitation throughout the country. The plan, which is drafted by the Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation, is geared towards supplying water to all parts of the country. Speaking at the beginning of the deliberation, Deputy Managing Director for Operation at LWSC, Wilson Gates, said the plan, if fully funded, will put the country on par with other countries in the West African region. According to him, the plan was initially funded by the United States Aid Agency for International Development, adding that the corporation was forced to take over the funding, allowing the withdrawal of all international assistance by the U.S. government. The deliberation brought together stakeholders from the Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation, the Ministry of Public Works, Water Aid, Africa Development, among others. And the 18th biannual general meeting of the West African Postgraduate College of Nursing and Midwifery has begun at the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf Ministerial Complex in Congo Town. Speaking at the ceremony, President Joseph Bouaka, through Ambassador at Large Charles Netter, said the government attaches seriousness to the health system in the country. He congratulated the midwives and nurses for meeting and encouraged them to deliberate on issues that will help improve the health delivery system in the West African sub-region. The meeting, held under the theme Collaboration and Partnership Towards Improving Quality Healthcare in the West African Region, brought together over 450 delegates from all over West Africa.
Simon Juice with the news bulletin. The news bulletin is a regular feature of King's Newsroom. A reminder you listen to King's Newsroom 45 minutes news about Liberia, Africa, and our one world. Stories we follow you tonight. Bombay County Senator and head of Liberia's ECOWAS Parliament delegation expresses deep fear for his life. Edwin Snow says the government has endorsed threats against him and his family as Liberia delegation to ECOWAS Parliament requests timely, impartial, and transparent investigation into previous allegations made by Ministry of Information against Snow. Ministry of Justice warns citizens against alarming human trafficking groups in parts of the country. Justice Minister Councillor Ursula Twe names KillNet, Melania Liberia, Go International Petroleum Star, among several others, as fraudulent organizations that are exploiting vulnerable Liberians. U.S. government through its Department of Defense oversees humanitarian, disaster assistance and civic aid donates high-tech equipment worth US 150,000 to 14th Military Hospital for cancer diagnosis and treatment. Away from home, Zimbabwe's President Emerson Mnangagwa has signed into law a contentious bill that requires all motorists to buy a radio license before acquiring vehicle insurance. We'll take a break to be back with voices of the newsmakers. Welcome back and thanks for being there. Pomey County Senator Eden Snow has raised serious concerns about his life and the lives of his family amidst contending pressure being mounted following the Ministry of Information's allegation that he is planning to use his connections at ECOWAS to undermine and destabilize the government. Snow, during a press conference Tuesday in Monrovia, describes as state endorsed threats against his life and that of his family. He claimed that the ministry's statement has not only severely damaged his personal and political reputation, but also placed him and his family in immediate danger.
For lack of any other modification, I think the press release from the Ministry of Information, under the signature of the Minister of Information, has actually accused me of trying to overthrow the Liberian government. Because when you say you want to destabilize the government, you want to prevent investment from coming to the country, it means you want civil unrest or civil unrest. So I think these are grave allegations and they doesn't border on our day-to-day politics. And like I said in session today, we can either agree to change the system of government or we have a democratic form of government. We will disagree. We will disagree. But do we do it in good faith? Do we do it for the love of country? Yes, we should. And I want to reiterate that my love for this country is unquestioning. I want Liberia to succeed. Today, I was just in the Protein office, took a photograph, supporting Liberia's bid for the UN Security Council seat. I want this country to succeed. Do I want the government to succeed itself after 6 years? No. I want it to be a one time. If that means destabilization, then I'm guilty. But I was shocked from someone that had been saying like a brother to me. The Minister of Information don't call me but to have released a statement accusing me of trying to destabilize my government. It was grave. It's not about politics. And then you put in quotation. So you're not interpreting or insinuating what I said, but you're giving a direct quote. Direct quote to say I will destabilize the government. I will use the ECOWAS institution. This is very grave. You're even accusing ECOWAS. And then you're accusing me of treason. Under our law, treason is life imprisonment or death. Is that what they want from me because I'm not become a member of the opposition community? I will discourage the government from doing that. We must create the space for opposing views. There are only two things I have to close. Yes, my security is at stake. My life is being threatened. I received text messages, I've received anonymous calls, and my life is being threatened. I feel my security, thanks to the Vice President, guaranteed my security, and I made it clear to the world that my life is threatened, along with my family. Two things. I'm open for an impartial investigation of this matter. I'm accused of treason. It's no small crime under our laws. No small crime. I've been accused. I wrote the police yesterday asking for. I've been accused of trying to destabilize my government. I'm asking for a full-fledged investigation in the view of the international community and Liberia.
Senator Edwin Melvin Snow. Justice Minister Councillor Oswald 12 has issued a stern warning to the public regarding a growing human trafficking operation in Liberia. According to him, human traffickers are reportedly targeting young people, especially those from rural communities, with false promises of education and employment abroad. The Justice Minister, during a live appearance on OKFN Tuesday, expressed deep concern about the rising influence of a sinister network operating on multiple alliances, including QNet Infinity, Millennia Liberia, Gold International, Petroleum Star, among others.
Some of the things we are doing now, like
Okay, let's take 5 minutes to do it.
Yeah, there's serious trafficking in person in Liberia here that I want the public to be aware of, especially our folks in the rural area. There's an organization here called themselves what? They got different name. QNet, what the other name? QNet, Infinity, Millennium, Liberia, Go International, Platinum Star, Go International Work and Travel Provider Company. They lure young people with the promise of education or job in foreign countries. And the young people are doing go there and thing, and they're held in a situation of, and the young people are doing go there and thing, and they're held in a situation of servitude. They're hostages. No education will be given to them. No school. They're just working for people and things. So when the people to hear and think we have the immigration, I have to deplete young Liberians who are traveling to countries.
And these institutions are here?
Yeah, we investigating them.
And they are working here, and you know them, and their offices are still open, Mr. Minister?
Some of them, they hardly got offices. Some people pay money.
How do we shut them down?
So we do
because to call the names, it means people know these places.
That's why the investigation is. That's why investigation takes time. We know the name. We're shutting them down. Some of them are in hiding and things. We're trying to stop that because young people are being lured. They're through their parents and all with the promises of education and of jobs in foreign countries, which is unfortunately not true. Many times immigration had to take young people off the plane because they couldn't show where they were going, who they were going to. Funny, nothing. They were just going. Trying to bring them to Moria and they stay with people who facilitated them going. It's a whole scheme. They also have people and things where, again, this WhatsApp, that everybody has WhatsApp number being hacked. A lot of hacking going on. And they give you a code and thing to call and thing. When you call this number and thing, boom, you block out your WhatsApp account. And they start sending messages to your friends, asking for help. And people are falling for it. We are investigating them. We have numbers of things. The mobile number and thing, they send you anything. And pretty soon, arrest will be made.
We look forward to see.
Justice Minister Consider Oswald that sending out a stand warning to the public regarding a growing human trafficking operation in Liberia. Monserrado County Electoral District 6 representative and member of ECOWAS Parliament has assured Liberia's commitment to justice, peace, and sustainable development, delivering a comprehensive remark on behalf of the people and government of Liberia at the ECOWAS Parliament in Abuja. Representative Samuel Enos outlined the country's progress and pledges governance, human rights, environmental policy, and regional cooperation.
To persecute people and organizations responsible for war crimes and crimes against humanity committed during the Liberian Civil War. This court is a joint effort by Liberian government and its international partners. The executive order follows a preliminary resolution on April calling for the establishment of a court, and it represents the first national effort to bring to book those who committed heinous crimes against innocent people during the Liberian War. In 2017, through the Executive Order 83, established the Office of the Ombudsman for the enforcement, oversight, monitoring, and evaluation and adherence to the Code of Conduct. In August 2024, President Boakai commissioned officials of the Ombudsman, thereby operationalizing their activities. Since its commissioning, the Office of the Ombudsman has been very proactive in bringing government officials and relevant government workers to book whenever they are in the transgression. Liberia is relatively stable with no major threats to the peace and security of the state. And even though political tensions heightened due to the long-stretched legislative crisis over the period, the Speaker quagmire, but instead of retorting to violence, the court has been a major source, the last redress for aggrieved parties. Even though the judicial process is a little slower than has seen the citizen continue to express itself peacefully. Even though Liberia appears relatively stable and there seems to be no significant threat to the peace and security of the state at the moment, but the legislative saga and the involvement of political parties along with their supporters seem to pose a threat at the time. Thankfully, ECOWAS and our government have taken siege of this matter. The government is aware that in Liberia, a significant portion of the prison population is comprised of pre-detainees who have been in prison. Approximately 71% of the inmates are there for pre-trial. This overcrowding and prolonged pre-trial detention poses serious challenges to the justice system and raises concern about human rights. As part's effort to mitigate this, the government has initiated some measures, such as introduction of plea bargaining and a program to address conflict resolution in the community to help reduce these things. Moreover, as part of the initiative, a judge of the Criminal Code A has ordered the release of 117 inmates from the Monrovia Central Prison.
Meanwhile, addressing human rights and social equalities raised by Liberia's National Independent Human Rights Commission, Representative Ennis assured Parliament that reforms are on the way, particularly in child protection, law enforcement, accountability, and equitable rights for communities in cohesion areas.
Liberians continue to uphold the principles of free speech and adhere to the 1986 Constitution, which the government has demonstrated in the last 2 years with a closure of a single radio station nor any newspaper. Also, the government has promoted the Kamara Act that decriminalized free speech, for which not a single journalist is behind bars. The government has taken cognizance of the report by Liberian National Independent Human Rights Commission on the state of security, brutality, and excessive use of force, prolonged potential pre-detention and judicial delay, gender-based violence and rape, harmful traditional practices, enforced disappearance and extrajudicial killing, child protection and violation in concession areas, among others, and to which the government is not oblivious and have vowed to take the necessary immediate action, amending the INHR report to curtail the reoccurrence of similar action. The government is aware that climate change poses a significant threat to the country, including increased temperature, more extreme weather caused by heavy rain and flood in slum communities, and rising sea levels that have led to serious coastal communities in Liberia. The change are expected to impact various sections, particularly agriculture, potential.
Reminder, you listening to King's Newsroom, 45 minutes news about Liberia, Africa, and our one world. Stories we following tonight. Broom County Senator and head of Liberia's ECOWAS Parliament delegation expresses deep fear for his life. Edwin Snow says the government has endorsed threats against him and his family as Liberia delegation to ECOWAS Parliament requires timely, impartial, and transparent investigation into previous allegations made by Ministry of Information against Snow. Ministry of Justice warns citizens against alarming human trafficking groups in parts of Liberia. Justice Minister Councillor Usatwe names KillNet, Millennia Liberia, Go International, Petroleum Star, among several others, as fraudulent organizations that are exploiting vulnerable Liberians. And also the news tonight, U.S. government through its Department of Defense oversees humanitarian, disaster assistance and civic aid, donates high-tech equipment worth US $150,000 to 14th Military Hospital for cancer diagnosis and treatment. Away from home, Zimbabwe's President Emerson Mnangagwa has signed into law a contentious bill that requires all motorists to buy radio lessons before acquiring vehicle insurance. War-torn Sudan is now on a break of a public health disaster as cholera and other deadly diseases spread. Aid group, the International Rescue Committee, has warned. We'll take a break to be back with more voices. Welcome back and thanks for being there. A grassroots advocacy organization is solidarity and trust for a new day in collaboration with the People Movement has strongly condemned the government of Liberia for defending the demolition of homes of vulnerable people. Stern said while it respects the fair application of the rule of law, it categorically rejects the continual or what it described as urbanization of the court system to unjustly evict struggling families leaving the properties belonging to the rich and the powerful, including Councillor George Galando. In a statement issued in Monrovia on Tuesday, Stein added that from Congo Town to Cotton Tree to the railroad Field Highway and from Battery Factory to Bushra Island, Nimpo Street to Ninzo, bulldozers under the supervision of the government have been tearing the homes and communities of poor people without remorse. Here is 10 chairperson Moba Molo speaking.
Enough is enough. Enough of the bulldozers rolling through communities, tearing down communities, displacing poor people, tearing their homes, and throwing their children into the streets. President Boakai's government has declared war on the poor, from Congo Town to Cotton Tree opposite Baptist Seminary to Bushra Island to Ninzo. Communities are under attack. Bulldozers are being unleashed on the streets by government or by individuals working with government, tearing down homes, throwing innocent families into the streets, while the mansions of the rich and powerful stay untouched. That is not justice. That is oppression of the people. It has to be resisted peacefully. We therefore say to President Boakai, your silence is betrayal for the cause of the people. Your bulldozers are not building Liberia. They are destroying lives, and they must be withdrawn. They must be stopped because enough is simply enough. While Liberians go to bed hungry, jobless, and without medicine in hospitals, clinics across the country, this government is protecting land grabbers and rewarding elite. Vice President Kuhn and his cronies like Mavi T. Sakor are using corrupt judges to seize land from struggling families, and the president sits there and do nothing. We the people say to Boakai, enough is enough. Stop your bulldozers. Enough is enough. Recall your bulldozers. Enough is enough. Stop tearing down the homes of poor Liberian citizens. Enough is enough. And some of these people are the very ones that stood up in the rain under the sun.
Moba Malu there speaking. Stakeholders in the water and sanitation sector have begun the validation of a strategic plan aimed at supplying water and boosting sanitation throughout the country. The plan, which is drafted by the Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation, is geared towards supplying water to all parts of the country. Speaking at the beginning of the deliberation, the Deputy Managing Director for Administration at LWSC, Wilson Gate, said the plan, if fully funded, will put the country on par with other countries in the West African region.
Following the leadership of Honorable Mohamed Ali, the management team decided to initiate, with the support of the board of directors, the management team decided to initiate some institutional reform aimed at enhancing operational efficiency of the corporation. And so, one of the initiatives that has been taken is the development of a strategic plan for the corporation, which will cover the period 2025 to 2029. And so, in latter parts of last year, the management engaged the USAID for funding of this undertaking. And so the USAID, working along with the management team, recruited a Liberian consultancy firm, which started the work. And then along the way, following a change in policy direction by the U.S. government, the USAID had to take another action. And on the basis of that, the management team, with the support of the board of directors, approved funding from internal sources to continue with the financing of this enterprise. And as a result of that, the consultants were able to come up with the first draft of the plan that we are about to validate today. On that note,
The 18th Annual General Meeting of the West African Postgraduate College of Nursing and Midwifery has begun at the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf Ministerial Complex in Congo Town. Speaking at the ceremony, President Joseph Boakai, through Ambassador at Large Charles Nander, says government attaches seriousness to the health system in the country. He congratulated the midwives and nurses for meeting and encouraged them to deliberate on the issues that will help improve the health delivery system in the West African region.
Indeed, His Excellency Joseph Boakai takes healthcare close to his heart. That is why it is in his rescue program for Liberia and West Africa. We sincerely want to welcome all of our guests here from Nigeria, from Ghana, from Sierra Leone, and also the Gambia. We hope and pray that your stay here will be a successful one, and of course, you will enjoy the hospitality of Liberia. We want to congratulate each and every one of you for doing what God has given you to take care of humanity. I was at the 11th hour asked to represent His Excellency here. So there's no official statement. So I do what I do best by representing as much as I can. I want to thank you so much, and we wish you all the best.
Away from home, Zimbabwe's President Emerson Mnangagwa has signed into law a contentious bill that requires all motorists to buy radio lessons before acquiring vehicle insurance. There has been an outcry from some motorists as they will now have to pay $90 annually in order to listen to the radio in their vehicles. The introduction of the measure is part of a plan to widen revenue sources for the state broadcaster, but critics say the license fee is too high, especially given a difficult economic situation. And war-torn Sudan is now on the brink of a public health disaster as cholera and other deadly diseases spread. Aid group, the International Rescue Committee, has warned. In just 1 week, Sudan's health ministry recorded that 102 people have died due to a cholera outbreak, posting on Facebook that most of the new cases are in Khartoum state. According to local doctors, cited by Sudanese media, drone attacks have caused power outages at water purification stations, which has left people with no choice but to use unclean water. RRC Country Director of Sudan said the civil war, now in its third year, is fueling the resurgence of cholera. But to end this edition of King's Newsroom, a recap of stories we followed in the headlines. Broom County Senator and head of Liberia's economic as ECOWAS Parliament delegation expresses deep fear for his life. Eden Snow says the government has endorsed threats against him and his family as Liberia delegation to ECOWAS Parliament requests timely, impartial, and transparent investigation into previous allegations made by Ministry of Information against Snow. Ministry of Justice warns citizens against allowing human trafficking groups in parts of the country. Justice Minister Councillor Uswatwe names KuteNet, Linear Liberia, going the national platform style among several others, as fraudulent organizations that exploiting vulnerable Liberians. We also heard in the news U.S. government through its Department of Defense oversees humanitarian, disaster assistance, and civic aid donates high-tech equipment worth US 150,000 to 14th Military Hospital for cancer diagnosis and treatment. Away from home, Zimbabwe's President Emerson Mnangagwa has signed into law a contentious bill that requires all motorists to buy a radio license before acquiring vehicle insurance. Walton, Sudan is now on the brink of a public disaster as cholera and other deadly diseases spread. Aid group the International Rescue Committee has warned. Many thanks to our reporters, correspondents, and all those who helped in making this edition of King's Newsroom a success. St. Andrews brought to the news bulletin. Nathan Tokba sat at control and handled the technical aspect of this edition. On behalf of the team, I'm Shem Mondale. I presented. Thanks for listening and watching.